All right, we are live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the weekly Amazon news and Q&A show with myself and my Invericund. Now that is Invericund with a D like Delta on the end, just in case some of you heard a different letter
Okay.
on the end. That makes it a completely different word. Uh, this this is the only weekly Amazon news and Q&A show that is rated by 4 out of 5 doctors to be the illest around. Chris, how's it going, man?
It's going good. I want to find that fifth doctor, find out what he's got against us, he
That's
or
what I'd
she.
like to know as well. So, if this is your first time here, because this is only our second time around doing this show, we are going to touch on a couple of news topics that are of interest to us, and hopefully you find them interesting as well. But what we're really here for is to answer your questions. So, if you have a question about online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, hybrid arbitrage, which is a specialty of Chris's, he calls it BOPUS, or buy online, pick up in store. You want to talk about wholesale? We have a ton of experience between ourselves and also have a pretty large network where we can get the answers that you guys might be interested in. And I'm glad to be here this week. See, Kiki, what's going on? Deck, let's get rich. I really, this guy is in like tons of live streams and is always positive. And I just want to say I appreciate you, man. So, but again, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. And I'm going to go ahead and start with a little bit of news. The first thing is Jeff Bezos got a little bit of good news this week. He is the richest man in the world yet again. There's a couple of people that go knocking back and forth. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. I don't know if Carlos, what is his name? There's a guy from Mexico named Carlos who runs a telecom business. He's always been up there as well. But Jeff Bezos is worth 199.1 billion again, and this is after $8+ billion in stock sales for cash. So he's not. He's got a little walking around money. He's doing all right. He also decided to outrun the tax man by moving from Seattle or the state of Washington down to Miami, Florida. We see him and Lauren out walking around in, you know, uh, natural setting, if you will. Go to a farmer's market, things like that. Uh, but that's been interesting to see, especially as a Floridian myself. All of the newspapers and the news channels and things like that are, oh hey, we saw Jeff Bezos down by the water, at this cafe. Look at this totally not posed picture of him. So Jeff's definitely not hurting. And hopefully, when I go to Miami, I'd love to see his yacht, or even if he's just got the yacht Junior out there in the
Right.
in the bay. I'd love to see that one.
He's got
So
potential. He's got a future.
yeah,
Sharp
absolutely.
guy.
Yes, he does. So now he is spending some of that $8 billion on investing in like robot startup Figure, and I'm sure that he's blowing some of that cash on rockets over at Blue Origin. So I'm sure he's got a plan for some of that money. It's probably not all to be spent on designer clothes down at the mall in Miami. But now one of the other pieces of news, and hey guys, so we've got one question here. I'll hit this before we hit the next news piece. What is hybrid arbitrage? This is a great question. This is something Chris is especially good at. And Chris, you want to take it away?
Yeah, hybrid arbitrage. Another name for that is BOPUS. That's how I refer to it, and a lot of people do. Which stands for buy online, pick up in store. So you're kind of doing a little bit of both online arbitrage and retail arbitrage. It has distinct advantages, in my opinion, at least. You have the luxury of ordering online. So now we're talking cash back and everything, the perks that go along with that. And then you can run down to whatever store that you're buying it from. If it's Target, now of course you can add a cup of Starbucks coffee while you wait, which is dangerous. Very, very in a good way. And so you can go grab it and take it home immediately, or order from multiple Targets and go and make your stops. Come back, and you could pop it in a box right then and there if you've got a shipment that is getting ready to go. So, the instant, you're adding it to your inventory quicker, than it would take with online arbitrage, even though you're ordering that way in a similar manner. There's no wait time for shipping, and if you're using a prep center, they have to receive it. They have to, wait until it's your day or whatever your trigger is for them to work on one of your shipments. So, kind of cuts down that time. So you're actually seeing that turnover quicker, even though it shares a lot of similarities with both types of arbitrage.
Yeah. Your mention of getting a cup of Starbucks while you're waiting to pick up inventory to make money has got Dave Ramsey rolling around in his studio.
Fine. Any
screaming.
discomfort I can give that guy, I'm okay with that.
So the next piece of news that I saw, well, this wasn't really news. This was someone on Twitter, and they were talking about market saturation. And I said, well, nobody in the Amazon space can define what market saturation is, and I think I can, and I want to beat this back just a little bit, and I know that I've been called a shill for Amazon, and I'm always an optimist about e-commerce and things like that, and I've told Chris this. I'm a cynical optimist. I like to think. I do try to take the news with I try to take a cynic's eye when I look at it, but they're arguing that the market is saturated, just because, their products are tanking in price, or they're seeing that happen across the marketplace. And so market saturation is when the volume of a product or a service, or multiple products in the case of a marketplace, has been maximized. Okay. And the only way for a company to be able to grow further would be through product improvements, or taking existing market share from competitors, or increasing the overall demand from consumers. So now that we know what the definition is, I'm going to fight back on this a little bit, because the Q4 numbers came out. Now, I know Q4 is an incredible time for all of retail, but especially e-commerce sellers. And the numbers came out for Q4, and I thought they were fascinating. Quarterly U.S. e-commerce sales reached a record $324.82 billion by the end of 2023. Now, of course, Target gets a piece of that, Walmart gets a piece, Home Depot, Amazon, etc., and so on. But that's just the e-commerce portion of the overall it was like 1.01 trillion spent on retail in Q4 of 2023. And that's just in North America. That's actually just the United States. I don't think that is all of North America. This is growth of 7.2% from Q4 2023 over Q4 2022. Now, we can argue a bit that, okay, there's been some unusual inflation over the past couple of years. If you have a new mortgage like myself, you are definitely feeling what that's done to interest rates and the like. My mortgage broker was kind enough to text me the other day and say, "Hey, I'm keeping an eye on things, but nothing yet." And I was kind enough to reply, "Thank you," when that's not really what I wanted to say. But but there was growth. Now, it is the smallest amount of growth that we've seen in a long time, but it was still growth, and that's solid in my opinion. But when we look at Amazon itself, they had a 14% increase overall to 170 billion in Q4. If we look at just North America, there was a 13% increase to 105.5 billion in gross merchandise volume in Q4, which is, if we break that down, that's $48.8 million per hour spent on Amazon every single day, every single hour of every single day of the last quarter of the year. Massive number. Now, Amazon takes up 32.4% of the total e-commerce pie. So there's a couple of arguments. Can Amazon continue to grow? Well, I'm going to argue yes, and here's my reason. One, we're still in a place where the e-commerce pie is growing. Okay, now yes, it's growing slower, but it is going. I think it'll end up ticking up a little bit faster eventually, because you've still got people hanging around who they don't shop online, and those folks they're not going to be around forever. I don't want to get dark or anything, but I mean those folks are going to pass away eventually, and more and more people are going to be comfortable. We've also got people who are much more comfortable buying online who are becoming of spending age, or at least of age where they have a significant amount of money to spend and are happy to spend that online. They're no longer worried about that cash card their parents give them because they've got their own adult money. So that would be my pushback. So I think there is opportunity for growth. My other pushback is I think when people find Amazon to be saturated, the sourcing is not going correctly. I am a fan of the catalog method, having a nice wide catalog. And so I went ahead and I pulled some numbers directly from Keepa. Chris, how many products do you think on Amazon that are tracked by Keepa? We know that not all of them are. Just in the US marketplace over the last 30 days have increased anywhere from 10% to 1,000%.
I'd say more than 42.
That is correct. More than 42. It's 9.75 million products.
Jeez.
Now, that's an insane number. Now, out of a
Wait,
billion,
all right.
that's
I'm sorry.
yeah.
So walk me through that again.
Yeah.
Read the whole thing because I'm having trouble absorbing it the first time.
Absolutely. So, over the past 30 days, the number of products that have gone up in price from anywhere from 10% to 1,000% is 9,755,000 and some change. Well, that's just the rest of it's just what you find in the cushions. Okay,
that's incredible.
It's massive. Now I know that there are like a billion products on the U.S. Amazon marketplace, so yes, that's a small percentage, but I wanted to break this down a little bit more because we know that not all those products sell. There are products that just sit on, the digital shelves of Amazon and they're there, but they never move. So I said, you know what? How many products have increased between 10% and 1,000% over the past 30 days, but have a current sales rank of under 500,000? Now, I use the 500,000 number because I know that some categories that's completely safe to sell in. I'm talking home and kitchen, maybe tools and home improvement, and even some clothing and shoes, and some books. You're probably not going to really sell anything in toys and games or video games for sure. There's not really going to be a lot of movement in those categories. But how many products do you think have increased in price just ranked under 500,000?
Oh man, it's got to be a significant chunk of that 9.75 million.
It's 1.395 million.
Wow.
So
under
almost
500K.
Yeah, almost 1.4 million products on Amazon have gone up in price 10% to 1,000% over the past 30 days and have a current sales rank of under 500,000. I thought about cheating and using the average sales rank over the past 30 days to widen the net a little bit, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to bring it in a bit. But to me, that just means that there's a massive amount of opportunity. And I know that the argument to that would be, well, there's 2 million sellers on Amazon. That's true. There are 2 million sellers on Amazon. But you got to look at the spread. There's going to be a ton of them who don't really sell anything but are active sellers on Amazon. There's going to be some that, sell less than 10,000 per month. Actually, a large portion sell less than 10,000 per month. And then there's going to be your PL sellers who, they're not really coming for your arbitrage products. In reality, I'm not sure if the arbitrage space is more than 500 to 750,000 people who are taking this, somewhat seriously. Uh, and so to me, I think there's still a ton of opportunity, and we've got to go back to the whole. I don't ever want to say, well, you just need to pick better products, but there is opportunity out there. I don't know any other ways to illustrate it any better.
Right. I mean, there's multiple factors, and they kind of there's a bit of a compounding, or at least they compensate for each other. It's the marketplace is expanding, uh, catalog is expanding with it. So that's going to negate some of the new sellers coming in. And then the one thing that you didn't mention, you mentioned more people are becoming familiar and willing to use online shopping. And then there's the natural replacement of people who have come into their own decent amount of disposable income, like you mentioned, that only know a world where online shopping is a significant portion of it. But then you also have the brick and mortar decline. So
Mm-hmm.
that's some of those dollars, are going to end up being spent online instead, because these brick and mortar shops are going to carry specific products, and we know I don't know anybody, I can't think of anybody that wouldn't now be at the point where if you at the shop you close where you gets that special face cream that you don't break out, you can't get it at the store anymore because they shut their doors.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anybody that first stop isn't Amazon now.
Oh, absolutely. And plus, how many people do showrooming? Which a lot
Right.
of places hate. Going in and looking at
Yeah.
products physically and then buying on Amazon.
Yeah.
Because an
Which it
arbitrage.
only becomes more effective as the catalog expands, because
Exactly.
now you're going to find more of those products. Yeah, they've been talking about that for decades.
Absolutely. So we've got 82 people here. Now that's to me, that
Nice.
is, yeah, that's awesome. So just for those of you who've tuned in, Angel, what's going on? For those of you who've tuned in, we're here to answer your guys' questions. We like to throw in a little bit of news and things we can talk about as well. But drop your questions. If we can help you with sourcing, OA, RA, wholesale, whatever it is, we can probably get an answer for you. So make sure to drop those questions in the chat, and we'll definitely answer them for you. But yeah, to your point about stores closing, I know that I read Macy's is closing like 150 stores over the next 3 years. You
Yep.
know, I know there are others. I know that like Target and other places are still expanding, but there are Sephora and Ulta are taking advantage of the lipstick index. I saw an article about that today. They're still expanding, but those kind of big those mall anchors, they're just
Hmm.
not doing what they used to be able to do. Uh, I
Yep.
actually I read an article recently about how many schools are taking over like those anchor stores rather than
Hmm.
bringing in another retail store or something. They're actually putting in uh, like magnet schools, or not magnets, charter schools and things like
Hmm.
that. Which actually
Yeah.
that's a pretty good idea, but that's a whole nother topic.
We have an indoor pickleball place taking over one here around us.
Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. There's a really great like arcade slash go-kart place that's all
Oof.
indoors that took over like a Macy's or something.
And they should have
Um,
special nights where they open up the gates and let you go through the regular parts of the mall too. Just
wouldn't
expanded
that
course
be
nights.
wouldn't that be amazing?
Not for
Uh,
the old people walking the mall to get their steps in.
right. So, Angel's curious, how do you feel about VAs on Twitter? So, Chris, I'll let you go first.
Uh, how do I feel about I feel they are pretty aggressive. So I give them credit. I'm not sure what percentage of them are the ones in my DMs, but boy, that's not a business model that I would look forward to. Just cold DMing anybody that mentions, Amazon and or FBA. It's a little bit too unrefined, I think I feel more comfortable starting my VA search myself,
Hmm.
you know? I think having control of my search and where I search for them and who I talk to and or who recommends them, I think that's going to make me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I would agree. I I don't mind. I appreciate the hustle of people reaching
Uh-huh.
out. You know,
Yep.
what worries me when I'm being proactively reached out to rather than me proactively searching is if I were to hire one of those people, how can I know for sure that they're not, oh, well, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get two or three guys, or how can I
Right.
not be 100% sure that they're not working for an agency or something like that? If you could really build some trust and maybe be like, hey, you know what, I'm going to give you a shot for the next month, and then after the month we'll like renegotiate. I might be okay with that, but I don't know, personally I'm a fan of let's go and let's hire from scratch.
Yeah. I actually my favorite is I get all of my VAs, not that I've had a ton, but all my VAs come around the first of the year because I tend to like to pick off VAs that were hired just on a temporary basis for Q4
Hmm.
um, because y- you're decreasing the amount of VAs that are available because of talent or skill. I mean, there's going to be more VAs there that are good, but just for whatever reason, the seller only had a temporary need. And I hope that the seller that hired made that clear at the beginning, because otherwise that's not fair to the VA. So, but
Yeah.
that's a strategy that I use. I tend to focus in January, February for new VAs.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. So Kiki's curious. Lots of social media posts saying price tanking is making buy and hold necessary. Do you guys find that to be true? So my opinion is that you don't have to do or what people on social media say. Uh, that's just number one. But two, I think you need to have your own rule in place. And what I find important is uh, if if you kind of fly by the seat of your pants, you're going to end up making emotional decisions because we get so wrapped up in being an Amazon seller that everything is personal to us. And that's not the way that business should be done. Business is business is a personal a word impersonal. It's it's uh you need to have rules in place. That's why you should have SOPs. That's why you need to have all these things. That way you can just say, okay, uh X happened, and this is what my response is according to this SOP or this rule. Okay. So, for example, if I buy a product and it tanks in price, I am willing to hold it for 60 days. All right. That means that I'm going to pay for 2 months of storage, which should be minimal, as long as it's not like a massive product or something. But I'm going to pay 2 months of storage. And then at the end of 60 days, I am going to go to a break even price in my repricer. So I'll allow myself to go down to break even. And then if it doesn't sell 30 days after that, then I'm cutting bait. I'm out, and I will tank the price to oblivion to get that product sold. And you can mess around with using a coupon or something like that to try to get it to sell, or whatever you want to do. But I typically just change the rule in my repricer and allow it to get me whatever I can get back. Uh, that way, one, I'm not really having to think about it. It's just this is the way that we do things, and I get as much capital back as I possibly can, and I try not to make that mistake in the future. Now, the other thing you should do is, if that happens, do a post mortem. Figure out what happened. Did did the item just did it lose velocity? Did a massive number of sellers come on the product where it's not going to recover for a while? Does it recover 3 months from now? And if so, maybe it showed up on a massive lead list, or a lead list that's not exclusive. You try to figure that out and try to do better the next time is really the only thing we can do. And if we hit 80% of our shots and 20%, are products like those, you should be okay in the long term.
Yeah. And you have to take the emotion out of it. I think, the people, if you go on social media to talk about price tanking and how bad it is, that's most likely an emotional reaction. So
Yeah.
if those people are reacting emotionally to their own frustrations and their own, what the prices are doing on their own catalog, it's probably not a good idea to follow their example when they're reacting emotionally. It's not going to be
Hmm.
good for your business. I think buy and hold should be dictated by the product itself, more than a reactionary, a reaction strategy based on price tanking
Yeah.
overall.
I'd say when we did books, I had a buy and hold rule, where if it was selling 3 or 4 times a year and I could make $100 on it, but it only cost me $1, I would be willing to buy and hold and let it sit for
Mhm.
up to a year, until long-term storage fees kicked in.
Yeah.
But with regular inventory, that's not my strategy. Uh, Deck is curious. Do you guys have any experience in A2A? If so, do you recommend any resources for learning? So, I do not consider myself to be strong with Amazon to Amazon flips. I have done them. I know how to do them. I know how to find them. But I'm not. I would not say that I'm the A to A killer. However, I did make a video not too long ago on my YouTube channel, called "How to Find Your First Amazon to Amazon Flip," with a very simple keep a product finder filter set. And we've done 2 podcasts with Saul of the Buy Box, and we dive into Amazon to Amazon flips really deep in those. And I would go and read everything he has to say about it.
Yeah, absolutely. One cool thing about Amazon to Amazon flips is if you find a product that has some Amazon to Amazon flippers on it, storefront stocking becomes extremely potent, because
Hmm.
if you find a store that is flipping it Amazon to Amazon, their entire storefront is going to be full of opportunity. So
Yep,
it's the kind of thing where once you start pulling the string, that whole sweater is going to be gone.
absolutely. Uh, this person says, "Do you guys consider ASD a good source for finding vendors for inventory?" It can be. So I've been to ASD a few times. I'm not going this year. And there are opportunities there. You do need to be careful. Some of them are like liquidation vendors and things like that. There's going to be a lot of vendors there who sell like vapes and stuff. But there can be good vendors. But what I would suggest over and above ASD is the easy one. Uh, Try to go out and find the not so low hanging fruit. All right. I'll give you an example of this one's becoming low hanging fruit, but here in Orlando, in about 2 weeks, there's something called the Global Pet Expo. That is another trade show all about pet products. those, if you just do a Google search, I'm not going to give you the exact website to go to, but if you do a Google search, the ease at which you can find trade shows is incredible. And they're all over the country: Chicago, Atlanta, New York, Las Vegas, Miami, um, and several other places in the country. And don't just limit yourself to, oh, well, I want to go to Global Pet Expo and I want to go to the McCormick Food Show and I want to go to ASD. Look for some of the things that you're like, there are not going to be any other retailers there. Like here in Florida, we've got the PGA show. Okay. There are going to be a lot of vendors at the PGA show that uh, are going to be, there's going to be services. There's going to be, golf pros. Callaway and Ping are going to be there. But then you're also going to be able to find these smaller up and coming brands. And what better opportunity is there to go up to somebody who's expecting to just sell you a one-off product and be able to say, hey, what do you guys do for your e-commerce sales channels? And then insert yourself into that conversation when their guard is down. uh,
Gonna make somebody's day.
right. And so I don't think enough people are thinking outside of the box when it comes to trade shows, and they're just going to Toy Fair, they're just going to the McCormick Food Show, or I think it's called Snackspo maybe.
Yeah.
And there is a bunch of other, and also your local areas may have these wholesale showrooms. I know Atlanta has one. There was one in Columbus, Ohio, where you could go, and they had they had hours like 2 or 3 times a week, and these brands would have like little booths there, and retailers could come in and source from those brands. And so those are also going to be good places to look.
Yeah. And it's terribly convenient to get a nice hotel with a pool and, drag the family with you and, write it all off as a business expense. It's such a burden doing this kind
I
of job,
know
right?
it's a rough life. So, is it better to use Amazon's liquidation or just keep lowering your price to sell out of stale inventory? I have used Amazon's liquidation once or maybe twice the whole time I've ever sold on Amazon. If I'm not mistaken, I may need to go and read through things again, but I don't know that you're guaranteed to actually make anything at all from the liquidation.
Yeah.
And I think that on average, it's like they say on average you get about 10% of the value. Uh,
That seems aggressive. It's
yeah.
a Amazon liquidation is a great option if you're looking to get 9 cents for your product.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, even if I have to cut the price by 70% to sell through the product, I would much rather get 30 cents on the dollar than get 9 cents on every $10. That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
It
You
it
would
should probably be looked at through the lens of avoiding storage fees rather than
y-
recouping the capital that you spent buying it.
exactly. I almost think it would be better to pay the now what feels like exorbitant return fees and have a garage sale. Uh,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely check eBay before. I mean, we're assuming that all those boxes have been checked before you go that route. That's Amazon liquidation is very, very close, if not the last resort.
yeah. Hey guys, what would your recommendations or which shipping setting are you guys using at the moment for your inbound shipping settings? I know this might vary from person to person and location. Chris, you go ahead. You go ahead and answer this one first.
I am using whiskey straight out of the bottle. Is that the option? Like,
I
like white knuckle on my desk, like,
right.
choose. uh, I'm still feeling it out. I lucked out initially. I've only sent one shipment post March 1st, um, and I lucked out. I mean, in general, I tend to be like right towards the middle in the vast majority of decisions that have a small, medium, and large. My medium choice I have to be like 80-90% on those types of decisions. So, but jury's still out with me. I haven't really gotten into the weeds with it.
Yeah. I don't ship very much from home. However, I made a purchase and had them sent to my home so that I could go through the process step by step and figure things out. And I'm waiting to do it. Honestly, I'm not waiting. I'm putting it off because I really hate prepping, packing, and shipping. But um, yeah, my answer is I don't know yet. And I've read and watched videos from some big sellers, and I know that they think this is complete BS. Which I get it. You know, these fees suck. I'm hoping that the reduced FBA fees are going to be a little bit better in April. I hope that the low level inventory fee is not going to be. I hope it's going to go my direction in the way that I am expecting it to go, rather than what everyone else thinks, which is Amazon's just going to take more money from us. I just don't know that's going to happen. So for right now, I'm just not 100% sure what the best thing to do is. Um, the only thing that I do know for sure is that this is here to stay, or at least some iteration of it. Maybe Amazon pulls back a little bit. Uh, you know, that doesn't happen often, but I've lit a candle to Saint Bezos to hope for that kind of thing. Uh, but we'll see. But for now, I think that you should try out the optimized, try out minimal splits, see what works best for you, and build that into your margins when you're sourcing. And then the other thing is hope that people realize what's going on and we pass this on to the end consumer, in the next 3 to 6 months, because that's how retail businesses are supposed to operate. Uh, Retail businesses are not just soaking up inflation themselves. We are paying that when we go to the grocery store, when we go to Macy's. They're not taking that one on the chin out of the kindness of their hearts, and you do not have to either because you are a retailer. Um, all right, we've got we got 110 people here. We're gonna
That's
we
awesome.
said that we're gonna do these for 35 minutes. We've got a couple more questions here, so I want to go through these as quickly as we can and get them answered for you guys. But we are gonna have to wrap it up soon, just to let each of us get back to our families and things. Um, but let's see here. Angel says, "Do you need a PO box, business address, warehouse for wholesalers to ship to you?" No, you do not necessarily. And I'll give you two examples. So there's a guy on Twitter and Instagram, Hustling Oscar or Oscar Hustles. I can't remember his username, but his name is Oscar. He has most of his stuff go to his house, if not 100% of his items go to his house, and preps and packs them and ships them out of there on pallets. All you have to do is you have to request a lift gate for your shipments if you don't have a warehouse with a dock. I also know people who've had things shipped to a storage unit, so that works. There's cross docking that might be available by you, which could be a possibility. But I also know a guy who runs his wholesale business out of his 6-story walk up in New York and has tons of stuff delivered directly to him. So if there's a will,
And
there's
he's
a
got
way.
calves this size.
Right? I straight up asked him one time. I'm like, your delivery guys absolutely hate you, don't they? And he's like, no. He's like, I slide them some cash, or I make the kids, take everything upstairs. It's perfect. Um, let's see here. So, how do you feel about Amazon asking for 50 units on an invoice now for Amazon to Amazon flips? So, when that came out, I dove deep into it a little bit, and I didn't see it across every brand. It just seems hit or miss. Um, but honestly, I'm not I'm not totally against it either. We talked about saturation earlier, and everybody wants there to be less saturation, of course, because we want to keep that for us. Uh, and if we don't want saturation, we need to have more hurdles. So we've got to kind of choose. Do we want to make this easier for new people to get in, or do we want there to be more hurdles? Um, May not feel nice, but I'll be honest with you, it was harder than that to get ungated when I started. Uh, it was not an easy thing to do. So I'm okay with it on certain brands. Let's see here. Sorry. Sergio, is it more cost efficient for shipping to reuse case pack boxes or to place all of those items in a few boxes? I have 12 small case pack boxes, and all of these items can fit into 5 medium U-Haul boxes. Um, Chris, what do you think?
There's probably some details that would uh, make the answer a little easier. Like the weights and whatnot. But I will tell you with the new inventory placement, the unofficial words that I'm hearing out, people testing different methods, and this is all social media comments, so take this with a grain of salt. But 5 seems to be the magic number as far as uh, effective, keeping the impact of the additional fees that you would take on to a minimum. So there may be something to that. You may want to try to finagle a couple different variations, and you may find one that works better than another.
Yeah. So one thing I would also look into is uh, look into the dimensional weight of the 5 boxes compared to the case packed boxes, because they're gonna end up being different. I would imagine the 5 medium U-Haul boxes might end up being a little bit better with dimensional weight, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'd personally, I'd probably just test everything and pick what's best for you. Um, oh, hey, Dre showed up. Dre actually uses UPS store as a commercial address now, so that's good to know. I could have swore you were doing it. I know I've seen a video of people delivering stuff to your walk up, Dre, so I apologize for getting that wrong. Oh, Kiki, thank you for asking this. Is there any plans for another live OA challenge? As a matter of fact, yes. And I will shill this pretty hard here. So we've actually got a live OA challenge coming up on March 25th. March 25th. So just in a few weeks, there's going to be one happening. My business partner Nate actually sent out an email just recently that if you buy a ticket to the live now, you will also get uh, you also get the sourcing camp from Nate Jackson
Yeah,
thrown in
hustle
there.
buddies, right?
Yeah, from Hustle Buddies.
That's
So
just in a
that is
few days. I think sourcing camp is like the 9th or something, right?
it starts on Saturday, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you buy between now and then, you get sourcing camp, which it has replays as well, and you get the live OA challenge, and then we're in discussion where we might be able to add the sourcing camp as like a bonus to the live OA challenge, but I can't guarantee that. How much is the OA challenge? The OA challenge is $397. I think I should really know what my own product costs. Uh, I think it's $397. All right. Um, uh, uh, as as Jay Z would say, I'm trying to give you millions of dollars for 397. I actually did talk to a lady today because I've been doing some meetings, and she said that she's doing $2 million a year on her Amazon accounts, and she said the only thing she's ever taken is the OA challenge. She just recently went through the wholesale challenge. So I'll be honest with you, that made me feel pretty good. I do think that what we teach is pretty solid information and can build a pretty successful business because I basically just brain dump on you for 14 days. So
Yeah. Yeah, I've complimented you before, and I will continue to do so. And the audience will have to take my word for it that it's genuine. I mean, it's fantastic. I've attended every single one. I think I've only missed one
oh wow,
since you
well
started it.
that's
It's
that's
that
crazy.
good, and that's how much I value just hearing the information again and reinforcing it. So,
I'm
but
not sure
man,
whether I should say thank you or I'm sorry that you've
or
you've sat
yeah,
through that many. Uh,
stalk to you later.
right,
Kiki hung a curveball right over the plate for you there.
right. Yeah, I appreciate that. So we got two quick questions, and then we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna wrap this up for the day. So, do you feel like there have been more Section 3 violation video interviews lately, or is it possible I'm just seeing more in the feeds lately? I don't know if there's been an uptake. I know there has been some recently. I've seen a couple of them. Um, Here's the thing: when you are affronted by an injustice, you are often very vocal about it, and when that happens, other people will typically pile on, and so it can seem very loud very quickly when that kind of thing happens. Um, I would not say that it's like it's at massive scale, but it's happening, you know. Fortunately, as long as you keep at it and you've kept your nose clean, it seems like everyone's getting back eventually. You just have to jump through these hoops, which suck, but it's kind of the way it is, unfortunately. Let's see here. All right, last one. Is 2D workflow good for sellers that don't ship out that much? Um, Everything I've seen from Larry, it looks solid. Uh, and and I think Larry has said this, but you know, the 2D workflow is taking advantage of a loophole in the Amazon API by being able to move things around, and that's completely fine. There's that loophole, just like any loopholes that the IRS opens up. I say you run through those as quickly as you can for as long as you can. Um, so, are you going to save yourself enough every month to cover that $97 subscription? If so, I would absolutely go for it. If not, then it may not be for you. But Larry's a good guy, makes a good product. He knows what he's doing. I mean, the guy crushes on Amazon. And so I would at least give it a try. I'm sure there's a free trial. I'm not an affiliate at the moment. Although if it continues to work the way it is, it'd probably be stupid for me not to become an affiliate because it would just a no-brainer. So, all right. I think that is it. That was Chris. This was a great one. Second week,
Yeah.
and we got about 110 people here at the start or at the top. We're gonna keep doing this. I know that I enjoy it, and we're gonna keep bringing this back every week. I wish we could do it more often, but we're older guys. We've got families who like want to hang out with us and stuff. It's very weird that they
Yeah.
want us around, but
And like the audience can only look at us for so long. I mean, like we got the podcast coming up too, and that's a lot
yeah,
to ask of them.
we we've got faces for radio, and we just keep doing these videos. So all right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Same channel, same time, same place. See you then.